Who are the top 10 most influential men in American Masonic history? I'm going to tell you right now, on this list, George Washington is not number one. And I know it's a Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel, but Albert Pike is not number one either. In fact, the man who's at the number one spot is somebody most people outside the fraternity have never even heard his name, and yet every single Master Mason raised in America is walking a path that guy paved. So who are the top 10 American Freemasons of all time? I'm Maynard Edwards, 33rd degree. Welcome to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel. This year in the United States, we're not shy about it, celebrating 250 years of the USA. So we thought here on the channel, we would put together a list, the 10 Americans who helped shape American Freemasonry as we know it today. Now, this is not about their impact on the world at large. That would be a much different list. This is their impact on the Masonic fraternity. Now, I want to stress this is a list of American Masons, not a list of the most influential Masons in world history. I mean, if that were the case, we'd have James Anderson and William Preston, and they'd both kind of be near the top, but they are not on this list. This is a list of American Freemasons who built, organized, defended, wrote about, researched, and defined the craft on this side of the Atlantic. Now, there are a few ground rules here about this list. This is not any kind of official list from the Supreme Council of the Scottish Rite. So if you don't like this list, don't get mad and go call your Valley Secretary to complain or call the House of the Temple and say Maynard said so-and-so is number one and I think it should be somebody else. This is not about that. This is your Sovereign Grand Inspector General had nothing to do with this. This is not an official list. But we wanted to pull something together to give guys a chance to have some conversations. We didn't pull this list out of thin air either. We talked to Masonic leaders, researchers, authors, content creators, and influencers from around the country. And we pulled this together from all of their input. But nobody's making any kind of final call here. I mean, this is completely subjective. This list is meant to start a conversation. It's like arguing about the greatest quarterback of all time. Now, the answer to that question, of course, is Johnny Unitas. But the point is, this is all subjective. It's not worth fighting about, but it's a heck of a lot of fun to talk about. So when you decide you're going to make a comment, and I bet you do, don't get too aggravated in the comments. Keep it brotherly. We are all on the same level, and we want this to be a conversation, not an argument. Agree? Okay. I guarantee there are going to be some that you agree with and some you disagree with. There will be some people you think got left out and some people who are too high or not high enough on the list. So you got to stick around for all 10. Let's count it down. We're going to start with two living legends, and yes, I'm counting them as one entry. We do this in a few different spots. You'll see why as we go along. Numbers 10 and 10, Arturo de Hoyos and Dr. S. Brent Morris, both 33rd degree Grand Crosses. Full disclosure, I do know these guys personally, but that is not why they made the top 10. For most of the 20th century, Masonic history had a little bit of a problem. A lot of the Masonic information passed down in books, in lodge rooms, and in terrible History Channel documentaries was a mix of real scholarship and, let's call it, romantic legend and a little bit of wishful thinking. There was outright fabrication in some of those things as well. And this still happens today. I mean, we still have people who insist that the Knights Templar became the Freemasons, and there's just no evidence of it. And we talked about it in the video that's linked at that button there. So click that a little later on if you want to find out more about that. Arturo de Hoyos is the Grand Archivist and Grand Historian of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite Southern Jurisdiction. That is the channel we're on. We see Art on the channel all the time. And what he did is he took a lot of Albert Pike's work and some other Masonic authors as well, and he went back and he figured out where those guys got their information from. Now, Brent Morris, he's longtime editor of the Scottish Rite Journal, and he's a pioneer at applying real statistical analysis to Masonic membership data. In fact, in our membership department, which is where I work at the Scottish Rite, we still work with Brent all the time to try and understand trends in Masonic membership. Well, together, Art and Brent researched and published some of the most important Masonic discoveries ever. Their list of works, both together and as solo artists, well, it speaks for itself. If you've never read anything from Art or Brent, you really do need to get on that if you're a Freemason. These are two men who set the 21st century standard for how Masonic research and writing should be done. Next at number 9, Robert Morris, the Kentucky lawyer, poet, and Masonic ritualist who in 1850 did something that no American Mason had ever done before. He brought ladies into the Masonic family. Robert Morris created the Order of the Eastern Star, a body with its own ritual and its own degrees, its own structure, but it's built on Masonic principles, and importantly, it is open to wives, daughters, mothers, and sisters of Master Masons. Bringing wives to the lodge was not a small thing. American Masonry in 1850, it was exclusively a male institution, and it had spent 20 years getting beaten up in the anti-Masonic period. A big part of that beating came from wives and mothers who were not allowed to even really go to the lodge, so they saw Freemasonry as a threat to family life. Robert Morris's answer to that was pretty genius. He built them a seat at the table. Now, they can't become Freemasons, but ladies who are members of the Eastern Star can enjoy the same kind of fraternal experience, and it allows them to be more connected to the Masonic fraternity. The Amaranth, Rainbow for Girls, Job's Daughters, the White Shrine, even D. Malay, all of those groups owe something to the model that Robert Morris established. Robert Morris was also a serious Masonic scholar in his own right. He was named the Poet Laureate of Freemasonry in 1884, and he traveled to the Holy Land to research the geography of the ritual work, and his research still informs some Masonic instruction today. Robert Morris is on this list because he answered a question no one else had even thought to ask. What does Masonry owe to the women and the families in a Freemason's life? Number 8, another pair, William Florence and Walter Fleming. That's two more counted as one. In 1870, famed actor William "Billy" Florence attended a party in Marseille, France, hosted by an Arabian diplomat. Now, at this party, there was entertainment, and the entertainment was an elaborate and ornate ceremony where guests were inducted into a mock secret society. Billy was so taken with the pageantry that he decided to sketch out an idea for a brand new Masonic body, and that body was going to focus on fun. So Billy brought his notes back to New York and met up at the Knickerbocker, where many Masons met for lunch in New York City, and he got together with surgeon and fellow Mason Dr. Walter Fleming. And together in 1872, they founded the ancient Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, what we call today Shriners International. Why does this matter? Well, before the shrine, American Masonry was very solemn and serious. It was serious business for serious men. And Florence and Fleming came along, and they created a space for a little bit of fun, a place for brothers to bond outside that formal atmosphere of the Blue Lodge. The fez and Shriners became a very visible Masonic symbol. In 1922, the Shriners opened their very first hospital for children, and today, Shriners Children's is one of the most respected pediatric healthcare networks in the entire world, and it's one of Freemasonry's most important philanthropies. That legacy belongs on this list. There's no argument there. Next, another pair, John Mitchell and Frederick Dalcoe at number 7. If you want to understand high-degree Masonry in America, you have to start at Shepherd's Tavern in Charleston, South Carolina on May 31st, 1801. That is the day that the Supreme Council, Southern Jurisdiction, Mother Council of the world, was born. This year, we're going to celebrate the 225th anniversary of the opening of the Supreme Council, and we're going back to Charleston. Details are at this video linked right here. Colonel John Mitchell was a Revolutionary War veteran and a friend of George Washington. He was the first sovereign grand commander of the Supreme Council, and he conferred the 33rd degree and issued the first 33rd degree patent to Frederick Dalcoe, a physician and a clergyman and our first lieutenant grand commander. Here's why these two guys belong on the list, and it's not just because they were first. Before 1801, the high degrees in American Masonry were in chaos, and these two guys sought to bring order to that chaos. It's where our founding motto, Ordo ab Chao, comes from. So without Mitchell and Dalcoe, there's no Scottish Rite, Northern or Southern, and high degree Masonry in this country and around the world would be very different. Number 6, Albert Mackey. If you've ever opened a serious book on Masonic law or history or symbolism, there's a good chance Albert Mackey's name was on the spine. He was a Charleston physician by trade, and Mackey was one of the most prolific Masonic scholars of the 19th century. It's true that modern scholarship has corrected a lot of Mackey's conclusions, especially Mackey's theories on Masonic origins, but that's just the nature of research. There's always new information that is going to correct earlier information. The point is not whether Mackey was right or wrong or if he missed the mark on some things. The point is that Mackey gave generations of American Masons a common framework and, more importantly even, a shared vocabulary for discussing the craft in a scholarly way. Also, Mackey should be credited that in a tavern in Charleston, South Carolina, famously he brought our next brother into the Scottish Rite. But before we get to that, before we get to number 5, a quick pause. I need a favor. Hit subscribe. You know you're going to want to subscribe because you're already mad about one of the people on this list, so you're going to want to make a comment. We put out new content as often as we can, and every thumbs up we get helps us out. So thumbs up, subscribe, and then make your comment. Okay, top 5 is where we're going to get things a little bit more interesting. Number 5, Albert Pike, the poet, the lawyer, the soldier, the scholar, and depending on who you ask, he's either one of the most brilliant Masonic ritualists ever or the most controversial. Albert Pike basically rewrote the entire Scottish Rite system. He drew from Hermeticism, the Kabbalah, comparative religious studies, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and of course, the source he used more than just about any other, the Holy Bible. He pulled all of these things together and organized them in a way that we recognize today as our Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. His most recognized work, Morals and Dogma, is still one of the philosophical bedrocks of the Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction. As Masonic writers go, few men have been more prolific than Albert Pike, and as a Masonic leader, he was pretty good at his job. When Albert Pike took over as Grand Commander in 1859, the southern jurisdiction of the Scottish Rite had fewer than 500 members. But when he died in 1891, it had more than 8,000. He moved the headquarters of the Scottish Rite from Charleston, South Carolina to Washington, D.C., putting Scottish Rite directly in the middle of the seat of American government. We have over 100,000 members in the Scottish Rite Southern jurisdiction right now, and every one of us owes a little something to Albert Pike. If you're a Master Mason and you're not a Scottish Rite Mason, there's a link in the description below. Send us an email and we'll help you get started on more light in Masonry. Next though, and perhaps the name on this list that's going to stir the most controversy, number 4, Brother George Washington. I mean, you knew his name was going to be on the list, right? But there are some brothers who will be mad he's not number 1, and some brothers who are going to argue that Washington was not active enough as a Mason to warrant being on this list at all. But let's dig in just a little bit. Brother Washington was initiated in Fredericksburg Lodge number 4 in Virginia in 1752. He was 20 years old, and he went on, of course, to become one of the most prominent men in all of American history, if not the most prominent man. By his own admission, he didn't really even get to attend Lodge all that often after he was initiated, but he was very public about his Masonic membership, and he readily admitted the values of Freemasonry shaped him as a man and a leader. George Washington laid the cornerstone of the U.S. Capitol wearing a Masonic apron with fellow Masons. I mean, the whole thing, it was a Masonic ceremony. And he took his oath of office on a Bible borrowed from a Masonic lodge. So Washington was not shy about admitting or acknowledging or working with the fraternity in a public setting. He didn't get to go to stated meetings all the time, but does that matter that much? So the question remains, though, why is he on this list? Well, because today, even more than 225 years after his death, he is still the reason that many men decide to become Freemasons. I am 100% one of them. He was a direct influence on me joining the Masonic fraternity. As a leader and a founding father, there is no name that ranks any bigger than George Washington. And as a Freemason, it's arguable that few other men have brought more people to the door of the lodge, except maybe the guy we have at the number 3 slot, Prince Hall. In March of 1775, just weeks before the shot heard around the world, a free black man named Prince Hall and 14 other black men were initiated into Lodge number 441, an Irish constituted military lodge attached to a British regiment stationed in Boston. When the British Army left, those 15 Masons, well, they were on their own. American Grand Lodges refused to recognize them, so Prince Hall did something pretty audacious for the time. He petitioned the Grand Lodge of England directly. In 1784, England answered and granted a charter for African Lodge number 459. The charter didn't physically arrive until 1787. Prince Hall didn't stop at just founding a lodge. He founded many lodges throughout the young American Republic, and he used the platform to petition for the abolition of slavery, to demand equal education for black children in Boston, and to organize the free black community into a force for civil rights. And this was 7 full decades before the American Civil War. Today, there are more than 100,000 Prince Hall Masons in Prince Hall Grand Lodges all across the United States. Prince Hall belongs on this list because he forced American Freemasonry to confront its own founding principle, universal brotherhood. Number 2, Dr. and Brother Benjamin Franklin. Scientist, printer, diplomat, author, founding father, the list goes on and on and on, and certainly one of the most consequential Masons in the history of the United States and in the craft itself. Franklin was initiated into St. John's Lodge in Philadelphia in 1731. 3 years later, in 1734, he printed the first Masonic book published in America, a reprint of Anderson's Constitutions. Without Franklin's Masonic leadership and his printing, it is likely that the spread of Freemasonry in North America would have taken a very different track. Some people, though, think that Franklin's greatest Masonic moment didn't happen in Philadelphia. They think it might have happened in Paris. When Franklin was in France, he was very active in the Masonic community. He was seated in lodges with the intellectuals and the power brokers of pre-revolutionary France. Many historians argue that Franklin used those Masonic connections to do what no other American diplomat could do. He secured French military and financial support for the Revolutionary War. Without French aid, there is no Yorktown. Without Yorktown, there is no United States. So between his printing, his Masonic leadership, his Masonic diplomacy, Franklin really is as important as it gets in terms of his impact. Finally, number 1, a guy on this list that a lot of people have never even heard of. But if you are an American Freemason, and it doesn't matter which Grand Lodge you're from, you have definitely heard and likely said this brother's words. Number 1, Thomas Smith Webb. In the late 1790s, American Masonry had a big problem. Every lodge was doing things a little bit differently. Rituals varied from town to town, sometimes from lodge to lodge in the same city. A Mason raised in Boston could visit a lodge in Charleston and barely recognize the work. Thomas Smith Webb, he fixed most of that. In 1797, he published the Freemasons' Monitor, or Illustrations of Masonry. It became the blueprint for American degree work, and some people refer to his rituals as the American Rite or the Webb Rite. Webb simplified the lectures, he standardized the ritual, and he gave American Masonry the unified system that it had been missing all along. Webb didn't just stop at the Blue Lodge level, though. He also organized and spread the higher degrees of the York Rite, Royal Arch, Cryptic Masonry, Knights Templar, the structure of the General Grand Chapter and the Grand Encampment. Almost all of that comes from Webb's work. Now, to be fair, Webb did borrow a lot from famed English Masonic lecturer William Preston, but we are not including English Masons on this list, so Preston is out and Webb is in. His work is still the backbone of the American Grand Lodges today. All 50 Grand Lodges in the USA, in fact, they can trace their ritual DNA back to the work of Thomas Smith Webb. If you've learned a lecture or a charge, you are saying some of Webb's work, and that is why he's on top of this list, because even to this day, every Mason in this country and every worshipful master who presides in the East owes a tip of the top hat to Thomas Smith Webb. So there's our list. 10 Americans and a few duos mixed in there who turned American Freemasonry into the fraternity that we know and love today. Who did we miss? Who should be higher? Who should be lower? Tell us in the comments. This is your chance to be part of the conversation. Just remember, it's supposed to be fun. Keep it brotherly. Who belongs on the list that we left off? Who would you knock off to make room for them? Frank Land and De Molay, they almost made the list. Henry Price, he chartered the first regular Grand Lodge in America. Does he belong on the list? Joseph Warren, a lot of people advocated for Joseph Warren. He died at Bunker Hill, but should he be on the list? Maybe you're feeling esoteric and you think Manly P. Hall should be included, or you're feeling like you want a little controversy and Joseph Cerno belongs somewhere on the list. We're going to be reading the comments and we may do a follow-up video based on your picks. So make your case. It's definitely going to get read and considered. If you're not yet a Freemason, we would love for you to find out more about Freemasonry. There's a link right above me, and that video will tell you all you need to know about becoming a Freemason, or just send us an email below, membership@scottishrite.org. It's linked in the description. If you're a Master Mason, not yet a Scottish Rite Mason, well, we can help you there as well. There is a link and an email in the description. We've got 100,000 Scottish Rite brothers in the Southern jurisdiction, and we are always looking for men who are looking for more light in Freemasonry. You know you are. So if you're not a Scottish Rite Mason, hit that email address and tell us, and we'll help you get started. Also, while you're there, don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I'm Maynard Edwards, 33rd degree. We'll catch you next time.